Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 2. I am Beat O'Brien coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuruan. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari assures battle against terrorists is approaching its conclusion. House of Reps reconvene Wednesday to consider anti-corruption terrorism bills. Protesting miners stop Ramaphosa May Day speech in South Africa. Details of these stories and more in a moment. We begin the news on our bulletins this afternoon with a report that President Muhammadu Buhari has assured Nigerians that the battle waged against terrorists is approaching its conclusion, adding that victory is within sight. The president gave the assurance in his solemn message to Nigerians as Ramadan reached its end. President's spokesman Garba Shehu, in a statement, quoted Buhari as sending his best wishes to Muslims in Nigeria and across the world celebrating the occasion. Buhari stressed the battle waged against terrorists who falsely masquerade under the name of Islam is approaching its conclusion. Meanwhile, the federal government has warned APM terminals at Apapa and others to adhere to government's freight forwarders directive on collection of practitioners operating fee proof of fund. Speaking during a meeting between officials of the Ministry of Transportation and Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarders and Terminal Operators in Lagos, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Dr. Magdalene Ajani, said since the introduction of the policy in February 24, 2021, some terminal operators have failed to comply with the agreement reached, which has resulted to loss of revenue to the country. Ajani stated that one of the importance of the POF was that it would enhance the fortunes of freight forwarding in Nigeria, adding that the ministry has given terminal operators 2 months to key into the collection of POF, after which sanctions would be applied for those who fail to abide. We move now to the legislature, where the House of Representatives has made a new turn on its indefinite resumption over renovations of the National Assembly complex. According to a statement issued by the Clerk of the House, Dr. Yahaya Danzaria, the House would hold plenary on Wednesday, May 4, 2022 by 11 a.m. to consider and pass 3 bills on corruption and terrorism. Recall that President Muhammadu Buhari had recently forwarded to the National Assembly a revised version of the Money Laundering Bill and Terrorism Prevention Bill, noting that the deficiencies in the country's anti-money laundering and combating of the financing of terrorism called for the passage of the bills. Buhari also warned that non-passage of the bills would pose a risk that might lead to eventual blacklisting of Nigeria by the Financial Action Task Force. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, has joined millions of Nigerians to salute the country's workers on the celebration of this year's International Workers' Day. Gbajabiamila, in his statement by his spokesman, Lanre Laisi, commended the resilience and commitment and dedication of Nigerian workers, saying their efforts would never go in vain. He expressed happiness that Nigerian workers have lived up to expectation over the years, noting that they remain the backbone of the Nigerian working force. Away from that, the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has asked the federal government to return to the negotiation table with the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASUU and other striking labor unions to end the lingering strike action. Atiku said this in a statement in commemoration of the International Workers' Day, adding that he feels the pain of Nigerian workers over hunger, inflation, and insecurity in the country. Atiku warned that the educational system in the country is dying gradually due to the lingering strike action by labor union. Atiku advised workers at levels and all sectors to adopt a new approach to the dispute resolution, saying industrial relations by pursuing labor-friendly policies and positions which will guarantee improved national productivity, warning that the educational system in the country is dying if the strike is not called off by the labor union. Meanwhile, as workers across the world today mark this year's Workers' Day, otherwise known as International Labour Day, organized labor has expressed deep concerns that the country is still struggling in its quest for good governance several years after independence. While noting that successive regimes, administrations, and political leaders across different strata have promised good living and working conditions, as well as improved economy over the years, but failed ultimately, the Labour moved and bemoaned the pitiable condition in which Nigerians make out their livelihoods. Labour representatives, WHO spoke to newsmen ahead of today's celebration, highlighting the high rate of unemployment, galloping inflation in the country, and the devaluation of the naira, low wages, widespread insecurity, the rising cost of living, a near comatose educational sector, and a failing healthcare sector as some of the indices that have made life more gruel for workers. In another development, hundreds of suffering pensioners in Edo State, wearing black attire with placards bearing various inscriptions, protested at the Workers' Day rally at the Samuel Ogbomudia Stadium in Benin, disclosing that since their retirement in 2012, they were yet to be paid their gratuities. The governor, however, says he is particularly interested in the senior citizens because they are some of the most vulnerable in the society, and assures that the payment of the outstanding pensions to pensioners would be done soon. And now to politics, where the head of politics and governance of the Redeemed Christian Church of Nigeria, RCCG, Pastor Timothy Olaniyi, insists that All Progressive Congress APC presidential hopeful, Vice President Yemi Osibanjo, remains the only child of God and a pastor that could change the narrative of governance in Nigeria. Fielding questions from newsmen at the inauguration conference of New Era Nigeria, NIN, a political movement set to change the narrative of governance in 2023, Olaniyi said money politics in the country has led Nigeria to where it is now. According to Olaniyi, people would promise heaven and earth, and at the end of the day, they give 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira to eligible voters. After the election, their promises would not be fulfilled, and the people they gave money would not have access to these notable politicians. As still in politics, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has won all the 23 local government areas of the just concluded council poll held in Benue. The chairman of Benue State Independent Electoral Commission, Teso Loko, said this while declaring the result at the commission's headquarters in Makudi. Loko said the PDP emerged the winner by beating the All Progressive, Grand Alliance, ABGA, and Labour Party LP to win all the council seats, in addition to 276 councillorship positions. While expressing happiness that no violence was recorded in any of the polling units, Loko thanked the people of Benue State for their support in achieving a successful poll. Meanwhile, the New Nigeria's People's Party (NPP) has urged Muslims to use the occasion of this year's Eid al-Fitr to pray to God to guide Nigeria as it moves towards the 2023 general election. The party, in a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Agbo Major, in Abuja, felicitated Muslims in the country on the occasion of the 2023 Eid al-Fitr festival, marking the successful conclusion of the Ramadan fasting. He said that no doubt Muslims who participated in the month-long fasting attracted to themselves the blessings, forgiveness, mercy, love, joy, and preservation of Allah associated with the month. Away from that, officials of the Lagos State Building Collapse Agency have begun evaluation of occupants of a 3-story building showing serious signs of distress in Ebute Metta. Speaking to newsmen in Lagos, the zonal coordinator, Southwest National Emergency Management Agency, Ibrahim Farinloye, said though the building had not collapsed, evacuation is ongoing to save lives and property. In another development, Osun State Governor Adeboyega Oyetola has given a nod of approval to 7 demands of the members of the Joint Labour Movement. The governor, in his address during the celebration held at Oshogbo Township Stadium, said he has approved for immediate implementation the cash backing of outstanding promotions for all categories of workers, 100% implementation of consolidated polytechnics and colleges of education academic staff salary structure, CONPASCA, for which the state has already been implementing 90%, as well as the immediate implementation of 65 years retirement age for all categories of workers in the tertiary institutions and 40 years length of service for teachers in the state. The approval was also given to the establishment matters, that is, conducting of outstanding promotions nominally from 2019 till date, regularization advancements, and conversion, amongst others, while approval was also made on the appointment of permanent secretaries in due course to put an end to the use of coordinating directors in ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs. Meanwhile, Governor Aminu Tambawal of Sokoto State has warned against politicizing insecurity in Nigeria. Tambawal, who issued the warning in his Eid al-Fitr Salah message to the people of Sokoto, urging Nigerians to pray for peace in the country, said there were still alarming incidences of insecurity, although leaders have intensified efforts to tackle insecurity through sustained support to security agencies and collaboration with the federal government and authorities in Niger Republic. While admonishing Muslim Umar to extend the discipline exhibited in the month of Ramadan by making sacrifices and doing many lawful things, Tambawal further appealed to Muslims to exploit the opportunity to pray for peace in Nigeria and for the peaceful, free and fair elections to sustain democracy and usher in everlasting unity, stability and prosperity for the country. Away from that, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has warned that a significant number of Nigerian children, especially those under the age of 5, are not getting enough micronutrients needed for their overall growth and development. It further stated that although malnutrition accounts for 45% of all child deaths, with an increased commitment by stakeholders at the federal, state and local government levels towards ending malnutrition, nearly 50% of the reasons children are dying could be averted. Back here on news from the home front, the Akwa Ibom Council of Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, has said it will only support any governorship candidate that would accede to its demands as contained in a 5-point agenda. The state chairperson of NLC, Comrade Sonny James, who stated this during the 2022 Workers' Day celebration in Uyo with the theme, Labor, Politics and Quest for Good Governance and Development in Nigeria, noted that the union during its Congress resolved that workers and their families would only support candidates that will improve the living wages and prioritize workers' welfare come 2023. To achieve this, James said the union would invite all governorship candidates to the Labour House after their primaries for engagements on their manifesto and items that will bring good governance to Akwa Ibom people. He listed the items on the charter to include living wage and prioritization of workers' welfare, education, health care, industrialization of the state economy, and physical security, social protection, and good governance. In Africa, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa abandoned his Workers' Day speech in northwestern city of Rustenburg when striking miner workers stormed the stage. The mine workers are demanding a wage increase of 1,000 rands, $63 per month, instead of the 850 rand, $54 being offered by the mine. Ramaphosa, who was booed as he started his address with a call for the striking workers and other members of the Congress of South Africa Trade Unions to calm down and listen to what he had to say. Shortly after that, Ramaphosa was forced to give up his feet, although when the angry miners stormed the stage at the Royal Bafokeng Stadium, Ramaphosa's security guards whisked him away from the venue.
Workers were resolute on that. If they don't give us an increment, workers here, all of us here, those who are not in source, those who are not getting increments, we are going to hold this country. We are willing to die for the workers. We are not going to die for leaders, but we are dying for the workers because that's what we've been fighting for.
Still in Africa, Guinea's military leader, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, has announced a 39-month transition period before the country returns to the civilian rule. According to Colonel Damboya, who made the announcement during a speech broadcast on television, he added that measures would be subjected to the National Transitional Council, acting as parliament. The announcement followed the creation of what the military leader described as an inclusive consultation framework. Recall that the regional bloc ECOWAS had set last Monday as a deadline for putting forward an acceptable transition timetable or risk economic and financial sanctions. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres had called on the military juntas in Burkina Faso, Guinea and in Mali to hand power back to civilians as soon as possible. Speaking after meeting Senegalese President Macky Sall in Dakar, he said they have agreed on the need to keep talks to the de facto authorities in the three countries so as to get a swift return to constitutional order. All three countries struggling with jihadist insurgency in the Sahel region have recently experienced military coups. Mali in August 2020 and May 2021, Guinea in September 2021, and Burkina Faso in January 2022. Sall, who is the current chair of the West African bloc, ECOWAS, which has suspended all three countries from its membership, had imposed heavy sanctions against Mali in January after the regime there rejected a rapid return to civilian rule.
S'agissant de l'Afrique de l'Ouest et du Sahel, nous avons évoqué entre autres les efforts conjoints contre le terrorisme et l'extrémisme violent, ainsi que la situation au Burkina Faso, en Guinée et au Mali. À cet égard, nous avons convenu de l'importance de poursuivre le dialogue avec les autorités de facto des trois pays afin d'instaurer le retour à l'ordre constitutionnel dans les délais les plus brefs.
And still to come on our bulletin this afternoon, Ofili shines again after blistering 200-meter run. Do stay with us. Well, thanks for staying tuned to Spectrum Television. It's the news at this hour. And now to news from the foreign scene, where Russian state media has urged Putin to wipe the UK off the map using his most powerful nuclear weapons as the despot's propaganda machine continues to threaten mass deaths over support for the war in Ukraine. Kiselyov has claimed that the drones have the capacity for a warhead of up to 100 megatons, more than 1,000 times the strength of the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, which, if dropped, would raise a giant tsunami of up to 1,640 feet high, enough to reach halfway up a Skyfield Pike, the tallest point in England. Reports say the threats are the result of UK's staunch support for Ukraine, which has seen it move further and faster than other European nations in delivering arms to Kiev to help the fight against Russia, and has since seen Johnson twice visit the Ukrainian capital to show his support. Still on the foreign scene, Ukrainian authorities are planning to evacuate more civilians from Mariupol after dozens were finally brought to safety following weeks trapped under heavy fire in strategic port city Azovstal steel complex. The plant has endured a Russian blockade since Moscow's invasion on February 24, with stories of the harsh conditions in the besieged Mariupol horrifying the world as the war that has seen thousands killed and millions displaced entered its third month. The UN said a safe passage operation was taking place at the Azovstal steel plant, adding that roughly 100 civilians have been evacuated from the besieged plant, while the International Committee of the Red Cross said it was currently participating in the operation. Meanwhile, Russia's defense ministry has said those who wish to leave from the area controlled by Kiev are handed over to UN and ICCR Red Cross representatives. On our business news, a building expert, Dr. Akinsola Olufemi, has said that 95% of building projects in Lagos State do not comply with mandatory soil testing and are therefore exposed to risk of collapse. Olufemi stated this at the Builders Business Workshop in Lagos State, organized by the Lagos State chapter of the Nigerian Institute of Building to train professional builders on construction, methodology, and industry best practices. Olufemi, while felicitating the training, disclosed that the research conducted by Yaba College of Technology revealed that the vast majority of building projects in the state ran afoul of the mandatory soil testing. Olufemi stressed that the importance of construction methodology, noting that it had become a compulsory requirement before the commencement of construction projects. Still in business, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) has projected that Nigeria's consumer price index would hit 16.1% in 2022. The projection was presented in a tabular illustration in the IMF's Regional Community Outlook for Sub-Saharan Africa published on its website. Meanwhile, recent figures from the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) showed that Nigeria's consumer price index rose to 15.92% in March. The rise in the inflation rate in March shows that Nigeria is not left out in the global inflation surge. In health, American Center for Disease Control and Prevention has urged physicians to be on the lookout for a suspected case of severe hepatitis of unknown origin in children. According to the CDC, out of 169 cases of peculiar hepatitis reported so far, one child has succumbed to the disease, while 17 children have required liver transplants. This announcement is coming after the World Health Organization, WHO, released 2 disease outbreak news reports on the spread of this disease in April. According to the CDC, adenoviruses are common viruses that cause a range of illnesses. They can cause cold-like symptoms, fever, sore throat, bronchitis, pneumonia, diarrhea, and pink eye conjunctivitis. As still on news from the health scene, stakeholders in the public and private health sectors have advocated stiffer penalties for manufacturers and distributors of poor quality maternal medicines in the country. The stakeholders made a call in Abuja at the program on leveraging public-private partnership to improve access to quality maternal medicines organized by the Nigerian Health Watch. Meanwhile, Director and Head of Reproductive Health Division, Federal Ministry of Health, Dr. Kayode Afolabi, said the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control (NAFDAC) should continue its work as the main regulatory agency. In sports, English Premier League club Crystal Palace have reportedly prepared their €12 million bid for Chelsea's Youth Academy graduate and Super Eagles defender Ola Aina. Aina has just 1 year left on his contract with the Italian club Torino, and they are reportedly prepared to cash in via trade rather than wait for his contract to expire. The 25-year-old started his career with Chelsea, where he made just 3 senior appearances as a substitute in all, before joining Torino initially on loan in 2018 and then a permanent deal worth €10 million in 2019. Still in sports, Nigeria's very own sprinter Favour Olafiran ran at a blazing speed in the women's 100 meters, coming in with a time of 10.93 seconds on Saturday at the LCU Invitational. With the time of a filly, he went ahead to win the event and move up to number 8 on the all-time collegates list. The sporting event held at the Brian Moore Track Stadium, Louisiana State University in Barton, Louisiana. The 19-year-old track star, who set a new Nigerian national record in the 200 meters earlier this year, was running 100 meters for the second straight meet. On Saturday, Ophelia burst out of the blocks, leading her to achieve a personal best of 10.93 seconds, beating 3 Olympic and world medalists, Micah Briscoe, 10.98, Aliyah Hobbs, 11.11, and Jenna Pradani, 11.15 in the process. On our entertainment news, Akwa Ibom-born Nollywood actress Ini Edo has celebrated her 4th year with the people of Eket's Akwa Ibom State. The movie star, who marked the birthday in Eket, reportedly empowered over 50 women with startup capital for business. Speaking at the event, the diva, who appreciated Akwa Ibom women and people for their continued support, promised to continue representing the state in a good light. The star-studded event was well attended by industry players and friends of the actress. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 2. I am Beta Brian, thanking you for watching. Do have a good afternoon.